We are recording. Great. Again, sorry for that. My name is Denise Harlow. I'm the CEO of the National Community Action Partnership, and we're excited to have you on today's webinar. Today, we're launching a great new partnership that I am very excited by with First Nonprofit. I've known First Nonprofit probably for a good 15 years, maybe. It's been a long relationship that I've had through this job as well as prior jobs, and we could talk a little bit about that. But we're going to talk about an opportunity for our nonprofit community action agencies to save money on your unemployment insurance. And I know that's the sexiest topic out there necessarily, or sometimes the most impactful when community action folks think about program impact. But in community action, we oftentimes talk about the dual bottom line. And if we can save money on the financial side of the ledger, we can have a bigger impact on the mission side of the ledger. And that is what today's webinar is all about. And as Charity mentioned, today we are in listen-only mode on your side, so please put any questions you have into the Q&A window, and we will pause periodically to see if there are questions. You will also be given Cecilia and Cruz's contact information, so you're going to be able to contact them directly. And that's probably going to be the best way to figure out nuances of your individual organization. So let's go to the next slide. So the next slide is the promise of community action. Again, I believe that what we're talking about today is impacting the bottom line of community action on the financial side, that it can also then have an impact on your mission side, which means that we can help more people and change more lives. So let's just go to the next slide. And so just to also, there's a few highlight slides in here, just some brief commercials. First of all, we have our National Impact Report that is out right now. I hope that you've seen that. And if you go to the next slide, you'll see here we have our national podcast series that has also been released. And if we continue our podcast, we may actually want to do one on these kind of member benefits. But today we really want to talk about First Nonprofit. Cecilia Piazza has been my primary contact with First Nonprofit for many years. And I've run into Cecilia at various Community Action Partnership or Community Action Association events. First Nonprofit has vendored at our conference here, wherever we've had it across the country. They've been a good partner in that way. And I know she's going to do a deep dive into First Nonprofit and the product that is being made available to you as local community action agencies and state associations. We have historically had a relationship with another provider of a similar product, but it wasn't really meshing well with members. We had members apply, they weren't able to get through the process. The particular product did not seem to match the needs of local agencies. First Nonprofit, and she'll talk about this, already serves more than 50 CAP agencies across the country. So they know community action. They know the challenges of Head Start. And while I know we're moving Head Start to full year, full day programs and increasing the dosage, we do know that layoffs and other things impact community action agencies in that space. I also know, and she made references as well, she sent me an email about a week ago that a CAP agency just this month utilized First Nonprofit to change their unemployment insurance structure and save that agency more than $40,000. And as Charity and I were just chatting about that, $40,000 at a CAP agency is a person, is a caseworker, is a frontline worker in many, not all parts of the country, but in many parts of the country, that's an FTE, or pretty close to an FTE. So you're talking about financial changes that can impact your agency's capacity to improve people's lives in your community. So I'm excited to have you with us, Cecilia. As you hope people heard the excitement in my voice, I'm really excited by this new partnership. So thank you so much for being with us here today.
Absolutely, absolutely, and thank you for that great introduction. You and I do go way back. I'm actually celebrating my 20th work anniversary with First Nonprofit this month.
Wow.
But thank you for hosting this event. We look forward to becoming even more involved with your association and serving CAP members.
Well, great. Well, we're going to turn the ball over to you. Are you doing the slides, Charity, or she's already got the ball? So we're going to mute on our side, Cecilia, and I may jump in here or there if there are questions, or if I want to just nudge on something, but I will turn the ball over to you then.
Okay, wonderful. Thank you. Just a little bit about us, for those of you that are on the call that are not familiar with First Nonprofit. First Nonprofit began in 1978 when it was a tough for nonprofit agencies to find an insurer. And they started out with property casualty, D&O, workers' comp, those typical insurance lines that you think about. And then we were approached by the United Way of Illinois, and that actually started our engagement with unemployment. Unemployment, we now have been providing for over 20 years to nonprofits, government entities, and it's also available to Native American Indian tribes. We actually have 2 different full-service programs, and you'll see those logos interchanged below. When we're providing a specific program, you'll see the Unemployment Savings Program. That was our original program. It is a nonprofit entity in its own right. It's a limited liability corporation, LLC. It has a separate board of directors that are nonprofit members that utilize our program and or associations that endorse the program. And then we have the first nonprofit company, FNP, which provides our fully insured unemployment program. So I'm going to go through the differences between those programs and how it has helped CAP agencies. But also I want to share with you that you're in good company with the Community Action Partnership, as well as I know that you're all sometimes also members of your own state association. So here's a list of the other state national associations that we work with, some national partners as well, and Community Action right there at the top is our new endorsement for this year, and we definitely welcome this relationship. So what's the opportunity for nonprofits to save money? The fact is that if you are a 501c3 nonprofit, because there are different designations, you actually have the opportunities to switch your unemployment payment method. The traditional method is the tax method. But if you are a 501c3, legislation was passed in 1978 to allow nonprofits in each state to provide nonprofit organizations or groups of such organizations with the option of reimbursing the state for unemployment in lieu of paying taxes. And so that's really the foundation of the legislation that we've built our products on to allow nonprofits to utilize this. And still to this day, I've been doing this 20 years, but I find that so many nonprofits still are not aware of this exemption. So as I mentioned, there are 2 ways. Typically, nonprofits are set up by many for-profit, either consultants or board members. So when you first start your nonprofit agency, you're likely paying the FUTA Tax. That's the acronym that it goes by, and that's the state unemployment tax assessment. It's also known as the SUI tax, state unemployment insurance. So if you see those line items on your wage report as the employer, you're likely paying a percentage of the tax on all of the taxable payroll for the employees you have each quarter, regardless if you have anyone claiming unemployment or not. Reimbursable is the option that you have, and that is the ability to just pay back the state dollar for dollar on your own employees when they file an unemployment claim. And that's what we use in the program. The 1978 legislation that was passed, because you're mission-driven and not profit-driven, that's why Congress gave you this exemption, so that you weren't paying those, hard-earned grant money dollars into the state unemployment fund and never getting it back. So here I wanted to show you, and I hope that this is visible. I'm sure you're going to be able to receive a copy of these slides as the National Association is recording it for you. But I just wanted to show a sample of what a tax rate looks like. Some folks don't always see this, especially if you're not dealing with the day-to-day payroll or the taxes, so you might not even know how your agency is paying for unemployment. This is an example of Massachusetts rate notice, and this is a real example of a nonprofit that we helped just last year with our program. As you can see on the top, the first row, it says that their 2018 UI contribution is 1.54%. And then the state has additional assessments. There's a workforce training rate in Massachusetts, and then there's also a medical assistance that employers contribute to. And so the combination of all these different taxes comes up with their UI contribution rate. But I want to bring your attention to the line item in number 1, their account balance. Here it shows for this particular, it was a small nonprofit, about 40 employees. You'll see here the account balance, $28,543. So that's how much this nonprofit has paid in excess for state unemployment tax since they have been paying the taxes. In most states, the state requires that you pay into unemployment on the 4th employee that you hire. Some states it's on the very first employee that you hire. We've seen these balances, especially if it's a large agency like a hospital. I've personally seen these balances be well over $1 million. So this is a balance that is kept by the state, and it's used by the state to fund those employers that leave the state. They can't tax them any higher. There's a maximum. Line 2 shows the contributions that the nonprofit actually paid between 10/31/2017, so for the fiscal year 2017, $4,027. And then line 3 is really, the whole answer as to why this is such an easy way for nonprofits to save money, because as you can see here, the state didn't pay out any unemployment charges for this agency. So even though they contributed $4,027.75, no one received unemployment for the 2017 period. They deducted a solvency fee, and then you've come up here with a new balance, $30,000. And you'll see their taxable wages are $233,000. So the 1.54% is on the 233. Well, I wanted to show this because this is just a small example of how your agency can reduce its operating expenses. When you're paying through the state unemployment fund, you're not only paying for your own employees, but you're also paying for the administrative tax, you're paying for all these assessments and pooling, and you're not going to be able to get that money back. Reimbursing is oftentimes called self-insuring as well, and it means being responsible for repaying the state dollar for dollar on your former employee's own actual unemployment claims instead of the percentage of payroll as I just showed you. The advantage is that obviously it's a much lower cost. You're paying for your own claims. If you don't have any claims that year, there's nothing that's going to be paid out. The disadvantage is that it's hard to budget. Your annual costs can fluctuate. And so that is a risk that needs to be managed. And First Nonprofit came up with our programs to manage the risk, but still allow you to have the savings that's associated with reimbursing. So as you see on this slide, I've got 3 case studies that I wanted to share with you, different CAP agency sizes. So you'll see the first one here on the left. It shows 131 employees. They were previously paying $152,552 to the state in taxes. With First Nonprofit, they are now going to pay only $126,000. That's a savings of $26,552. And you can see in the next graphic there, we've got 40 employees. They were able to save $9,700. And an agency with almost 300 employees saving $89,000, a 71% savings. And it's simply by looking at your unemployment profile. We've got a full service program that fully insures you from the first dollar of coverage to the last dollar of coverage, and that's our bonded service program. And it also includes claims administration services. So if your agency is very comfortable with just paying a fixed amount each year and you're not interested in taking on any potential risk like you do with the tax method, you don't take on any risk, the state assigns you a rate and you pay that rate regardless. They make adjustments each year depending on your experience. With our program, you do have fixed costs, so that helps with your budget, and you can also allocate to a specific funding source. This gives you budgetary certainty. It's on average about 36% less than the state fixed cost, and you have the ability to receive a potential credit. We also include surety bonds because sometimes the state does require collateral to be placed by the nonprofit when they choose the reimbursable option. And another nice feature is that we include claims management services. So your HR can focus on the hiring and the mission of your agency, but you can also feel rest assured that you've got experts that are going to back for you with the state. Let's say you fire someone for cause, but when they file unemployment, they tell the state that they were laid off. So you probably most likely want to contest that claim. You won't have to hire outside legal representation because our claims administrators handle all steps of the claim for you through the hearing process, appeals, the administration level, and the adjudication level. And they do also have a portal where you can manage these claims online. The other program that we have is the Unemployment Savings Program. This program allows you to share in the risk with First Nonprofit. So think of it as like a health savings account that's very popular nowadays with health insurance. You have the ability to have insurance. It's not on the very first dollar, so you're not fully insured, but it does have an attachment point. And any surplus that's left over in your account balance, unlike the state, you actually own these funds. And last year for 2018, we're proud to announce that our members received 4.07% income credit return on their account balances. This is money that belongs to them. If they were to ever leave our program and go back to the state or do something else, they can take these dollars with them. So it is expensed and allocated for future unemployment costs. We do analysis every year to make sure that the members deposit enough to cover their costs. And it also includes all of the claims administration services that I mentioned previously on our other fully insured program. So you get the assistance in fighting the claims, the appeals, and all that HR legal advice surrounding an unemployment claim. So to recap, we've got programs that are tailored to fit the different CAP needs. You'll see that it's not a one-size-shop with First Nonprofit. Different agencies are going to have different levels of savings. If we can't save you any money, we're also going to tell you that as well. There's no pooling associated with our program. We are not a trust, and we don't pool up your claims history together. So each agency is underwritten based on its own unemployment profile. We also will represent you and advise you on any unemployment issue. You'll have budgetary certainty and ease of cash flow with us. We will handle all of the payments on your behalf if they're warranted to the state agency. So we're going to do our best to make sure that we are paying for legitimate, valid unemployment claims. There's a lot of fraud going on nowadays with Social Security numbers being compromised, and unemployment is an easy target for those scammers. So we have had some of our nonprofit members have that happen to them, and because of all of the steps and processes that we have in place, we're able to fight those claims and successfully win for our clients. We have protection so that you don't have high out-of-pocket costs if you ever suffer any kind of layoff. As Denise was mentioning earlier, that can still happen. Just recently with the government shutdown, that happened, and some of our national park agencies had to utilize the insurance coverage because of the government shutdown. So it is of real value and can actually happen, even though the unemployment rate is particularly low right now in the economy. Overall, you still need to protect your agency. You also receive detailed management reports. You'll have online access to what's happening with your claims. You can follow the unemployment claim timeline and be as hands-on or hands-off as you wish. And the best feature is there's no change to your employees. They are still going to file their unemployment claims with the state and go through that process as normal. This is completely transparent to them. This is a savings for you on the employer side and an administrative level and a financial level. There's no change at all to whether they are going to receive their benefits, because even if we put our best case forward and we share all the information and documentation that you provide to us, because you're still in the driving seat as far as dictating if someone is going to have their claim protested or not protested. But ultimately, the state is the adjudicator in determining whether or not that person is going to be eligible for benefits and how much they're going to receive. As I mentioned, our programs do have credit, experience, and refund options, plus interest earning. So the money is also working for you simultaneously, helping your agency. As Denise mentioned in the beginning, we are serving more than 50 CAP agencies. We just introduced a new CAP agency this month in Minnesota. You can actually change quarterly. In Minnesota and California, they have different deadlines. And each state does have its own deadline. So the timing of this seminar is to give you enough time in the year to look at your unemployment costs and determine what you can possibly save. We cover over 10,000 CAP employees from currently 17 states around the country, and they are saving millions of dollars each year. Here's an actual testimonial from one of our accounts that had to use the insurance. And she says that being part of First Nonprofit and having them assist us as we reached our insurance limit has helped smooth out some of the extreme peaks and valleys we've experienced recently. As we move to a more normal path, we look forward to a long and mutually beneficial relationship with First Nonprofit. Thanks again for having our back. They have been with us for over 10 years. It was a long time ago that they did have that recovery, that insurance recovery, but that is exactly what it's there for, and we want to be there for our members. Who can join the program? 501c3 organizations. As I mentioned, you do have to have a copy of your IRS exemption letter, and I know that all of you probably do have that. And most importantly, on this slide, if you're not delinquent with the state, we can work with your agency. If you're already reimbursable, then you don't have to wait for the state deadline. You can actually come into the program at any quarter if you are already reimbursable. But if you are delinquent with the state or have any back payments that you owe, in most cases you will have to clear those up with the state before they would allow you to use the reimbursable method. What would happen if you did become a First Nonprofit client? Well, CAP members receive an additional 20% savings. But what would also happen is that the UI portion of your FUTA tax would become zero. And you would still use your payroll provider. We don't at all interfere with payroll. We don't process payroll. So they would still continue to process payroll normal way, just without any state unemployment taxes. The employees, as I mentioned, would file benefits through the state unemployment agency. Your agency would be invoiced by First Nonprofit from the agreed quote that we established for you, and then you would begin receiving activity and account information. First Nonprofit would remit any unemployment payments that need to be paid to the state on your behalf. We use secure banking. ACH, we're paying benefits for over $20 million a year for our clients. And so we have got a system, we work with the state agencies, and so you wouldn't have to make any payments to the state agency. The claims specialist would represent your agency and assist your HR on any unemployment cases that you want to defend or contest. And we would represent your agency on all unemployment issues, even before it becomes an unemployment claim. So sometimes I'll get calls and they'll say, Cecilia, we've got an issue with an employee. We haven't terminated them, but we're thinking about all of the options, or this is the case. It's a poor performance case, so that you can also talk to our claims specialist prior to making a decision, so that you make an informed decision in regards to that particular individual. This next slide is for questions and answers. So I will open it up to any comments that you can chat with me about.
Great, thanks, Cecilia. I hope people heard someone who is incredibly knowledgeable about this product, but also incredibly knowledgeable about the unemployment insurance marketplace, process, challenges. Now, certainly this product may not work for everyone, but it's something that it sounds like is something that I hope that you'll at least explore to see if it's an option for your organization. Cecilia, I was really excited to hear a little bit also about how you navigate with when someone is applying for unemployment, and if the agency has questions or concerns, they can contact you directly. Could you talk a little bit more about that?
Yeah, definitely. They are assigned, all of our members are assigned a case team and a specialist, a dedicated account manager for unemployment claims. And they can reach out to them, tell them the specifics of what is happening at their agency with a particular individual. It could be theft, it could be misconduct, sleeping on the job, job abandonment, what have you, and just get advice on how to handle the specifics of that incident before maybe that it renders an unemployment issue. We also, through our claims administrator, case builder, they have resources where our members can watch videos. So you can watch a video on misconduct. You can watch a video on how to deal with social media. I can't tell you how many times the handbook policy needs to be updated and changed. So we've got videos that are free to the members that they can watch at their leisure. They can log on. We also host different webinar topics throughout the year, cyber fraud, to help our members and give them some advice on some problems that we've seen. And that's all included. There is no additional charge for that. Once they become a First Nonprofit client, it's full service. Everything is included as far as the unemployment administration and representation and advice.
Well, that seems comprehensive in nature, that's for sure. And you talked about budgetary certainty for local agencies, how your program makes it a little bit more predictable for agencies. Maybe you could talk a little bit more about that.
Definitely. So what we do is when the client actually submits an application to us, we look at their claims history, how much they have been paying, and we determine what would be the best option for them. And we are very flexible with the payments. We have some members that like to pay on a monthly basis. We will give them a fixed annual amount, sometimes as far out as 24 months, depending on the state that they're coming from out of the tax system. States like Pennsylvania, New York, where we can lock their payments in for 24 months, that gives the executive director at that agency a lot of certainty because you're not going to get that kind of guarantee with the state rate. So it really depends on their unemployment profile, but we have multiple options for them.
Great, and I was just kind of going back to the slide in my slide deck here that shows the 3 different examples. And again, those savings that, from these real world examples are savings every year that these agencies are making, correct?
Yes, definitely. I was going to try to get back to that too. Would you like me to put that up?
Yeah, we'll pull it up while you're talking, yep.
Is there anyone out there that is currently utilizing the reimbursable option on their own or through a different vendor?
Right, if somebody wants to put that in the chat window or the Q&A window, please feel free to do so. Right now we don't have anything in the chat window.
Okay.
Nothing's coming in. You may want to use a hypothetical example.
Okay. So, as with the member that just joined this month, actually, he was referred from another CAP executive director that has been using us for about 7 years. And he was a new executive director to that CAP agency and wanting to make some reductions in cost savings and find some ways to reduce his operating expenses. And as I mentioned, this other CAP member told him about us. And so he just literally emailed me and asked if he could have an analysis, what it's all about, if he could save any money. And as you mentioned, they're going to save over $40,000. And because he's in Minnesota, that's going to affect his cash flow immediately this year in 2019. So, you know, honestly, this is the easiest grant you can really give to yourself because it's an election that's already been passed by the federal government, and it's just an option that nonprofits really need to look at. And once you've made that election, you don't have to do the paperwork every year. The state is not going to switch you back unless you tell the state that you want to switch back. So we have a 98% retention with our members, and we're very proud of that fact. That's how we've been able to grow so quickly over the past 20 years in the unemployment program with over 2,000 nonprofits that we help because our retention is so high, and we pride ourselves on helping our nonprofits save as much as they can. This is all I do is unemployment, so we're there for them all the time.
Well, and you work with a range, you said 2,000 nonprofits, and you mentioned hospitals earlier. I know sometimes when we look for business products, you know, for nonprofits, they tend to serve the small nonprofits with budgets less than $500,000 because we know that there's so many nonprofits in that space. But you have so much experience working with agencies of budget sizes that community action agencies have. CAP agencies do tend to be larger than typical other nonprofits do. We think the typical or average budget sizes between $5 and $10 million, if not between 10 and 15. And Charity just pointed out that your application form, this is what she showed me here, right? It looks like it's a 2-pager. Is that accurate, or is this kind of the initial kind of run-through that an agency would need to do with you? There, okay.
Yeah, actually, I can go through that here. You know, it's very standard, just some basics about the agency, when their first fiscal year is. Are they calendar or July 1 when they were established? Here you'll see that we ask about their current unemployment method. Are they paying the tax? They're reimbursing. Also here, have they paid the taxes for at least 2 years? I'm assuming that most of your cap agencies have, because you've been around for a long time as well.
Yep.
And here, this is a critical question. Are they in good standing with the state? That's the only time that I've ever seen the state deny someone, is if they did have any penalties or delinquencies with the state. And then we ask some very just general questions, how many employees they have, full and part-time, W-2s, do they anticipate any layoffs? We have seen in the cap agencies, as you indicated earlier, Denise, that many of them are moving on to having, paying their Head Start staff all year round. So I can attest to that has really helped decrease the unemployment charges. But, you know, part-time individuals can still receive unemployment benefits. So we do ask some information about layoffs, seasonal layoffs. And here we do ask for their payroll size. As you mentioned, many of your members are on typically the larger scale, maybe 10 to 15 million or higher. That we don't shy away from that, obviously. We work with many cap agencies, but also we have employers with thousands, several thousands of employees that we're working with. If they have their tax rate handy, they can indicate it here. We'd like to know their annual budget. And, you know, how often do they protest these unemployment claims? How many do they typically have? And if there's any issues that are coming up. But this is a cap application that's been customized for your agency so that you can use this in any state that you're with. You can send it in to us via email. And if we need more information, sometimes we will ask for copies of this tax rate notice that you see here in this column that I'm highlighting, this tax rate. We will ask for verification of what the tax rate is. And if you can't locate it, then there is a temporary permission that we'll send off to the CAP member, and all they have to do is authorize us to talk with the state, and then we can get all the information. So it's very simple. It's very easy for them to do. And then the other thing is, Denise, are the deadlines. So most of the states do have fall deadlines. But as we know, there are a lot of cap agencies that are on a 7/1 fiscal budget year. So they will be talking about their budgets pretty soon, and it's never too early to get a quote from us. So even though we may not be able to enroll you this year because of, let's say, you have a November deadline if it's a state like Ohio or Florida, or most of the states have a November deadline. Then we have New York, Illinois. They have December deadlines. I can send you a list. But we'd like to talk with the CAP agencies that are interested and get the quote to them as soon as possible, because they may have to take it to a committee. They may have it need to get approved by a board of directors. And if you want to plug in that savings for your fiscal budget, then I definitely encourage them to do it as soon as possible. So.
It looks like a question has been, we're gonna pull it up here, hit the little red arrow to expand the,
There we go.
So how can we access the unemployment insurance? You wanna scroll down in the Q&A box to see if there's a further, how can we access the unemployment insurance forms that you're showing? Where can those be found? We'll certainly can send them out. I would imagine a link to all the attendees on today's webinar. We'll put them up like probably, where's the best spot for somebody to get those forms?
We will email them to them. So they will have a copy that they can share. It'll be in PowerPoint and or PDF probably most likely, so it takes up less space in your email. And we'll email it to all the registrants on today's call.
Fantastic.
Along with the free application.
Great. Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Good. See if there's no other questions for right now have come in, but Cecilia, I just want to say thank you. We're excited by this new partnership. I know that your headquarters are in Chicago, and you'll be with us at our Chicago conference in August. So I know people will be able to stop by your booth and speak to you personally. Is that right?
Definitely. We will have a lot of staff. I will be there. Cruz will be there. And we'll be showcasing our city as well, and also welcoming a lot of the current CAP members that are utilizing our program. So,
fantastic.
Definitely very happy to be a big supporter.
Well, we are excited to have you amongst we have very few approved corporate vendors, and now First Nonprofit is one of them that have been approved by our board. So thank you for presenting today. We really appreciate you outlining the process, your product, and the potential benefits that agencies might be able to access by going through First Nonprofit. Community action agencies and state associations on today's call, I hope that you'll at least explore a conversation with Cecilia and Cruz and to see if there are some opportunities there for your organization. We'll follow up, as Cecilia mentioned, with copies of the slides, copies of the forms, and a recording link for today's presentation in case you want to rewind and listen to something again. And we'll make sure the recording also gets posted up on our website. So Cecilia, any last things you want to share with the audience?
Just again, thank you everyone for your time today. I really do appreciate you logging on to listen about unemployment. And thank you again, Denise, and to your team, Charity, and everyone at CAP Agency for making this available.
All right, well, thank you everyone so much for being with us. We're just going to cycle through a couple of slides here real quick. We have our Immigration Summit coming up in a couple of weeks, and again, our Chicago conference in August. With that, here's our contact information. With that, we're going to close down today's webinar. Thanks so much for being with us, and contact us if we can be of any assistance. Take care, everybody. Bye-bye.
Thank you.